Chapter 2. Light from the rising sun has reached the little window from between the trees, reminding me I'd rather be outside than in this attic, imagining how everything is from inside. The standoff between the Kremlin and Russian White House can't be the result sought by the State Committee for the State of Emergency in the USSR. However, their spectacle started awry by being a more drunkenly brave than commanding power television appearance, reflecting yesterday, losing its grip on tomorrow. Desperation compelled this better late than never conspiracy of individuals to replace the vacationing President Gorbachev. The country had changed, but former General Secretary couldn't get out from under the political labyrinth, positioned to grab power back, swallowing his last compromise union treaty that would have made the Soviet republics a commonwealth of independent sovereign nations. Indeed. Our company was here earlier, whispering in a circle, in the dark, on the floor. I've never really been comfortable as chief before, but have since learned to appreciate leadership's role as a balance held from the helm. Especially in the dark, I made out their sympathy for the coup. Their feeling was palpable, that a nation-state is admirable to hold on to, an identity hard to let go. And there was nothing to do, so I distracted the hammer cyclists with tales from my life left behind in the democratically controlled United States of America, where no matter how close to poor I'd been, Soviets endured worse. 3/4 of a century for the most part, searching empty shells for what they couldn't use. Their lives were resourcefully built around a barter puzzle, shrewdly developing opportunities for trade any way they could. And though it was true that, like anywhere else in the world, the majority traded similar circumstances, having more influence made purchasing anything possible in this land of better equals. Notice Mercedes aren't built in Africa either, yet they're there. Economic culture has coasted on an imbalance, strengthening those already capable of helping themselves crush the perpetually weak underneath prosperity's prestige. Ha! Speaking of prestigious prosperity, I recounted for the group again how Dr. Hammer tried using me to impress or irritate a lawyer he wasn't able to sign for himself. How what I wanted was respect without Dr. Hammer's influence. How as a millionaire's appendage, I'm a dilettante when I wanted to battle the economic war, not play with it. But beggars can't be choosers. So the lawyer arranged for my ticket to Moscow's Sheremetyevo airport that was built for the 1980 Olympics boycotted by the United States. Plus, I was provided basement office space in the Mejdnarodnaya Hotel that Dr. Hammer also had Occidental build for the Olympics President Carter, dedicated to Afghanistan. Now the lawyer in New York takes over the narration. Phil Traynor. Hello, I'm the lawyer. Clients who count their own hours couldn't be put on hold just for Dr. Hammer's project. So his 30-something bike messenger friend waited in the foyer. Our receptionist hated groveling by asking a bike guy to wait, but this Greenway character would drop by without an appointment when I had no time, so the personal visits had to stop. The gall behind treating my time as spur of the moment. It's one thing for aggressive grunt workers to sift like ants through mailrooms, and a complete other when they contact you whenever they want. The situation was out of our hands, even if we wanted to be nice. But Mr. Greenway's impertinence was calculated for kicks, as was my seeing him a stunt. Dr. Hammer tried at least twice to entice me to his legal team, once buying in to resolve a zoning problem in my neighborhood, so I moved, and this time there was a face to turn down. In the foyer, Mr. Greenway discarded normal introductions. He said, "Real slick for handshake ceremonies," and hustled ahead to show me my pace was too slow. The receptionist had to talk to keep him there, and since he wouldn't sit, he saw where my door was at the end of the hall, where he stopped to clear his throat, as if for something important. Instead, I passed him to go in first while he grinned at my Individualist of the Year plaque on the hall's opposite wall, given earlier that day by our firm's liberal majority of comedians. I conferenced professionally and tossed off our last chance for initial cordiality, ignoring him as I went behind my desk with my hand out, offering a seat. But from the middle of my carpet, he was taking in the floor-to-ceiling bookcase walls of legalese he probably couldn't differentiate from phone books. Who's to know what some street vagabond thinks, and what are rational circumstances for a person with grease on their pants to undertake serious business? Looking at me, Hank waited for my train of thought to finish, then said, "I don't want anyone's money. I want mine." Then he asked for permission to stand behind my desk and look askance through my windows at the New York Stock Exchange. He squinted in the late afternoon sun that just reaches the upper floors. He said, "Packaged by Hammer won't illustrate capitalism from the bottom up. The 90-year-old doesn't need me to make money. I want to at least try to make a negligible dent from inside the wet paper political bag." Then, thinking we'd never see each other again, he left with that quick attitude, "I want nothing from him, and thanks for the view." But Hank needed help, so my office accepted his plane ticket after the doctor threatened to sue the name away from him if he didn't open by September 1st, 1990 in Moscow. I thought it was a joke, but Hank sent letters to every corporate sponsor of public television, and no one wanted to even be abstractly involved with a business plan proposed by someone who barely paid rent. In the years since the traffic accident, Mr. Greenway paid Manhattan prices alone on his laborer's salary just to have writer's seclusion. That hadn't turned a corner, so squeaking by made no sense. Finally, the day before his flight to Moscow was due, Hank answered my message left for weeks with his courier service. On the phone, needing a favor from me, he still made fun of my being from Park Avenue when I told him where we'd meet. Hank said, "Living among the presumably poor, starving artists in a loft below Canal, huh?" Personally, Uptown's conservative flash just doesn't have downtown's discreet, crumbling facade charm of today's glamorous furnishings hidden where trees were entirely forgotten by the zoning board. Sweeping assessments aside, Hank didn't have that larger-than-life worldly appeal well-sold celebrities usually inspire. Just near average height with a paunch never trimmed doing sit-ups, he caught me looking him up and down at the office and bragged, "I've had the tummy since a teenager. No matter how long I work, swim teammates called me Pillsbury Doughboy. Exercise that's not a chore bores me, so I was lucky to become a bike courier." From my third-floor apartment, I saw Hank ride up and lock across Franklin's next to Franklin Alley, then walk the alley to White. So I lost him until he buzzed at precisely 9 p.m., as if we were both listening to the same radio news station. I turned off at the gong. From our phone conversation, his benefactor, Hammer, was still an adversary, while I was sure I wanted nothing more to do with either of them. Hammer trying to be everyone's friend, and Greenway's lineage from and repackaging of the same old long-standing utopian quest. Isn't everyone a simple missionary for pervasive affluence? I watched his slow lope up my building steps, then that had me guess he conserved energy when not pedaling. Then at my third-floor apartment's second-floor entrance, Hank stopped, stunned in tan disbelief, looking up at me at the top of the stairs inside my third-floor apartment, entered from where he was on the second. He looked at my second-floor neighbor's door, then came the rest of the way up, but with a little more pep in plain blue Levi jeans and rolled-up long-sleeve white T-shirt. Hank said, "Wow, New Yorkers dream of getting rid of the useless entrance hall where we stack our possessions." Then he sighed from behind the banister, looking back and forth through the whole apartment. He said, "Luxury's emptiness. My hall and whole home is stuffed with junk my landlord says I should remove to get my deposit. He wasn't offering until he saw all the crap I'm leaving behind. Your home is a vast expanse. This rectangular configuration of couches could form a 4-row cinema, and this magnificent entrance hall is not a hall at all. At all." A reply from me wouldn't have mattered to Hank's plopping at the top of the stairs. Launched in vain admiration of my acquired wealth, I thought I hid reasonably well. I said my own mother isn't as happy for me as you. Hank said life is a design, and grabbed the banister and put his face between two prison bars, mimicking Jimmy Cagney's famous mug with roaming eyes. He said, "The view here is an eye-opener, Mr. Trainer." I said, "This apartment isn't original."